Hey, you guys, have you ever had decision fatigue or analysis paralysis? Well, it's how a lot of people feel when it comes to budgeting. There are almost too many budgeting strategies out there these days, and having too many options actually can create less action. So today we're going to dive into 4 of the most popular budgeting methods, and stick around to the end because I will tell you which one I give my stamp of approval on. Being free to make your own medical decisions is a big deal. Christian Healthcare Ministries lets its members choose the providers that they want without worrying about networks. Find out more at chministries.org/budget. That's chministries.org/budget. Well, the first type of budgeting has kind of just too many numbers for me. So this strategy requires you to break down your expenses into percentages and then distribute your paycheck accordingly. So it's the 50-30-20 budget. So 50% of your budget goes to needs, 30% goes to wants, and 20% goes to savings. And, I understand why people do this strategy. Again, it's called the 50-30-20 rule, because in some cases I'm like, okay, yeah, it gives you this strategy of what to do with your money. But I really have 2 main issues with this. So the first is that it doesn't leave any room for paying off debt. You're going to have to figure out, okay, what percentages change there in order to pay off debt. And that is one thing that I want you all to do very early on in your money journey, is be paying off all of your debt, including your student loans, consumer debt, all of it. And the second thing that it doesn't do is help grow you and move you towards the wealth building process. So if you're just putting 20% in savings on autopilot, regardless of where you are financially, then you're not growing it or shrinking it depending on where you are. Again, it's kind of this method that regardless of where you are financially, here are the numbers you have to go by, where I really do believe where you are financially is where your numbers should be. So if you're getting out of debt, these numbers are going to look a whole lot different. But if you're debt-free and you have an emergency fund, then you could be investing more. You can decide that. Or if you've paid off your house even. You want your money to work for you versus working for a simple formula. So that's why I don't care for the 50-30-20 rule. Now, the second type of budgeting might be even more confusing, and it only has 1 percentage in its name, but 5 percentages in the actual application. So it's called the 60% solution. And trust me, there's not really a good solution to this method. So with this, you're supposed to combine your wants and your needs and spend 60% of your paycheck on those. And that leaves you 10% for retirement, 10% for long-term savings, 10% for short-term savings, and 10% for fun. But shouldn't we just include fun in the wants, right? So it's giving you even more there, regardless of where you are. But all in all, again, it leaves a lot of margin for error because there is some blurry lines between your needs versus wants too. So again, you're dividing up your savings in a bunch of different ways, and it just kind of gets confusing. Again, I don't like the set percentages. I like you deciding what to do with your money. If you're feeling like it's hard to prioritize your spending with all of those vague percentages, just wait until you hear about this third budgeting type. This one will have you thinking you're on board at first because it claims to prioritize savings. So this is the reverse budget, and it tells you to set aside money for savings and investing and then cover essential expenses and debt and other non-essentials. And listen, I appreciate the savings up front, but again, the idea of leaving debt payoff to the other parts of your budget, even after you have money saved, I don't necessarily agree with, because I want you to get a $1,000 emergency fund, and that's going to be the thing that you really are focused towards. Then everything else should be paused, and then all of your other money is going to paying off debts. Okay, we've made it finally to the 4th and final budget strategy, and I have a feeling that this method is one that probably give you some hope, and that is the zero-based budgets, or at Ramsey, we like to call it the every dollar budget, and it keeps it really simple. So this method teaches you to subtract all of your expenses from your total monthly income, where the outcome is 0. So zero-based budgeting does not mean you have $0 in your bank account. It just means that you're intentional with every dollar and where it's going. So it actually is very detailed in that sense. But it's amazing. Once you get into this routine and you master it, you have so much control over your money. And what this looks like for me is I use the budgeting app Every Dollar, and I use it to track my spending in each category. So again, my income is up at the top, and I combine all of this with my husband. So we put our income at the top, and then you go down the list. And so giving is first, If you're in a baby step where you're saving, whether for an emergency fund, your starter one, or your fully funded emergency fund, that will be at the top. And then besides that, you're gonna go down to your 4 walls, which is food, shelter, utilities, and transportation. And then you're also gonna be able to say, okay, under that, what are some essentials? Maybe like insurance and childcare, and there's some other things down there. And then within those as well, you're gonna be paying on debt. And then maybe if you're debt free, you're gonna be having some of that money that you're gonna say, we're gonna set this aside to invest later on in the month. But you're able to just give every dollar a name, and there's such power in that. So the main takeaway I want you to walk away with when it comes to the Every Dollar budget is that it helps you take the power back when it comes to your spending. So whether it's paying off debt efficiently or saving up specifically for things in the future, it puts you in the driver's seat. So again, it can feel maybe a little tedious at first because it is broken out so specifically for each category of your life, but you're doing what you're supposed to do with your income and being intentional with it. So if you've never used the Every Dollar app, start today. You can download the free version and be on your way to zero-based budgeting within minutes. And while it's downloading, then you might as well check out the link below and watch my step-by-step Every Dollar video that teaches you exactly how to master zero-based budgeting. So you guys, you can do this. And remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.